What's up, my awesome YouTubers? Right1988 or Justin back here to do a video for you guys. In today's video, I'm here to talk about 10 films that I would keep if I had to get rid of my entire collection. And this is a video response to my awesome friend and buddy, Nathan Jones, who made a video like this. And I really loved watching your video, Nathan. I thought it was so great and challenging in a fun way. And it made me really think the way I'm going to collect movies in the future. You know, I'm still going to collect movies. You know, movies are a passion of mine. I love physical media. But it's making me rethink the way I'm going to collect going forward. And that might be kind of like a challenge I'm going to make myself do next year. You know, and what I mean by that is, like, you know, you just have go-to movies that you watch all the time. And, you know, you might watch a go-to movie out of a film that you haven't seen in your collection. And, you know, I was thinking about that as I was making this list and picking out these movies were, you know, the way I'm going to collect in the future. It made me think the way I'm going to collect in the future, because I do watch a lot of my go-to movies more. And so, you know, I was thinking about a lot of stuff when I was making this list. Anyway, I thought this list was fun. I thought it was great. I thought it was challenging, and I hope you guys enjoy my 10 films I would keep if I had to get rid of everything else. And again, it made me just rethink my collecting for the future. So, I love collecting movies. I love physical media. That will never go away. But again, you know, you all have those go-to movies where you will watch, at least I do it, you'll watch like a movie that you've seen countless times in your collection over movies you might have seen once or never in your collection. I think I still have some movies shrink wrap that I need to watch. But yeah, I love making this list, Nathan, and if you guys haven't subscribed to Nathan's channel yet, I will definitely leave his channel down in the description. Again, Nathan is an awesome buddy of mine, awesome friend, and Nathan, I love your videos. I've said it plenty of times, but I do, and I love your channel. And so yeah, guys, go subscribe to Nathan's video, or Nathan's channel. Go subscribe to Nathan's channel and watch his videos and support him. Awesome guy. So anyway, this is my 10 films that I would keep if I had to get rid of everything else. And there's a lot of nostalgia here for me, and that nostalgia that would go to be movies that I still love today, that are definitely in my top 20 favorite films of top 20 favorite films of all time, if not in my top 10. You know, I left off so many movies that I love, like Empire Strikes Back. I left off. I actually had it on my list at one point, and I took that movie off my list because I kept thinking about that film and how I would really want to go and watch the original trilogy when I would watch Empire Strikes Back. So I did not have A New Hope. I did not have Return of the Jedi. And for Empire Strikes Back, I would want to go and watch the first movie, Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And it was the same way when I was making, or when I was thinking about putting The Dark Knight on my list. And that is another film where I would want to watch the entire trilogy. So, you know, I did not put those movies on that list for that reason, because I know I don't want to add just like a trilogy or two trilogies on this list. So they're not on the list. I do love them, but they're not on this list. So anyway, guys, here is my 10 films that I would keep if I had to get rid of everything else. And there's a reason why I would keep all these movies, and I'm going to talk about that briefly. So the first one, I would have to keep a superhero film. And I love a lot of them. I absolutely love a lot of, you know, superhero films. A lot of the older ones, a lot of the newer ones. There are some I definitely grew up with. A lot of them I saw in theaters. But the one that I would keep out of all the superhero movies in my collection is Man of Steel. And it's because I really think out of all the superhero movies, and I look at a lot of the Marvel movies too, and this is my go-to one. Like, you know, I love a lot of the Marvel films, but I watch this movie probably more than any of the Marvel movies. And I'm not downing Marvel, because I do love Marvel and the MCEU, But I also watch this movie out of all the DC movies I own, even the older DC movies. I go to this one quite a bit. I love Man of Steel. My favorite Zack Snyder film, my favorite superhero movie. I love the cast. You have such an amazing cast here, and Henry Cavill or Cavill, hopefully I'm saying his last name right. For me is a perfect Superman, perfect Clark Kent. I love Christopher Reeve as Clark Kent and Superman, but I love Man of Steel. There's just something about this movie each time I watch it. If it's the music, or the acting, or the direction, there's just something about this movie I love, and I go to this movie quite often. So I would have to keep that one in the collection, or I would have to keep that film if I got rid of everything else. The next movie is my favorite horror movie of all time, and my favorite movie of all time, and that is Halloween. I could not have a collection, or could not have kind of, a top, not top 10 list, but 10 films that I would keep without Halloween. Have to keep this movie. I watch it every Halloween, every October, but this is one of my go-to movies. I love the direction by John Carpenter. I love the writing by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill. They both brought something special to this movie when it came to the screenplay and the writing. John Carpenter was able to write suspense and scares and tension, and wrote such an iconic, creepy villain that is Michael Myers. And Deborah Hill wrote, wonderful, great characters in a movie. The three main young ladies or teenage girls, Laurie, Annie, and Linda. She was able to write, teenage girls or young women because, she was a young woman and she was a teenager. So I think she wrote those characters great. I think there's a lot of things about this movie I love. Performance-wise, Donald Pleasance as Dr. Loomis is just so good in this movie. I don't think the series was the same after he passed away. I just love Halloween. It is definitely one of those films that, I would have to keep if I got rid of everything else. If there was 10 movies I only had, Halloween would definitely have to be on that list. The next movie is another example of, a way this writer and director was able to write characters or young adults or teenagers in movies, if that makes sense. And the film is Some Kind of Wonderful. And I'm talking about John Hughes when I talk about how he was not only able to direct, but also write, teenage characters or young adults in movies. Like, he did it greatly. And, some of my favorite, comedies or favorite dramas or, teenage high school films, a lot of those films are by John Hughes. Breakfast Club being a perfect example of a film that I do love, and it is quite possibly in my top 20 favorite films of all time. But my favorite John Hughes movie, and the one I would keep, is Some Kind of Wonderful. And this was one of those films that he did not direct, he did write the film. He wrote it beautifully. I love everything about this movie. There's not one, I don't have one complaint about this movie. I think this movie's perfect. I love, again, the writing, beautiful example of one of the reasons why I love the film. I love the cast, I love the music, I love the soundtrack. Just amazing. A lot of standout scenes in this movie, a lot of emotional parts. I can relate to, Mary Stuart Masterson's character, because I was that character in high school or in my, 20s, where I was a character that loved somebody that, didn't feel the same way about me. I had a crush in high school, if I had crushes in high school, and I loved them, but they didn't love me that way. I was pretty much like the Mary Stuart Masterson character. Again, he was able to write characters so well, write young adults, write teenagers, and I think, still today, you can watch one of his movies, again, like Some Kind of Wonderful, Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink. Those are just some of the ones I can think of right now, where I think, even today, young adults and teenagers can relate to them. Yeah, I love Some Kind of Wonderful. I think it's just a fantastic film, and that is a film that I would definitely keep. The next movie is my second favorite horror movie of all time, and it's my favorite vampire film of all time, and that is Fright Night. This is the original Fright Night. I love this movie. It scared me as a kid, and growing up, I watched it more and more, and fell in love with this movie more and more. I love Fright Night Part 2, but obviously I would keep the first movie out of the two. I think it's definitely the better film, even though I do love Fright Night Part 2. This movie, for me, again, you just have a great direction. You have great writing by, I believe, Tom Holland not only directed this movie, but he also wrote this film. I love the writing. I love the characters. I love the fact that it is a vampire film, but it stands out as one of the best ones because, he wrote great characters. And Jerry Dandridge, who's the lead villain in this, is not like a typical villain. You could tell that, he's not like a complete bad guy in the movie. I mean, he is the villain, but there's a lot more to that character when you watch the film that makes him stand out from like the average villain in a vampire film or a horror movie. So I love the character Jerry Dandridge, played by Chris Sarandon, who just does such an amazing job. I love Roddy McDowall, who plays Peter Vincent. Again, he's like Donald Pleasance. I love both Donald Pleasance in Halloween, and I love Roddy McDowall in Fright Night. I think he's one of the things that makes this movie so great. And then you have just a wonderful cast in the film and wonderful characters like William Ragsdale, Amanda Bearse, Stephen Jeffries. I had to, look at the back and remember his name. And then you had a wonderful soundtrack. It's one of my favorite soundtracks in a movie, and I have this soundtrack again. Not only like the playlist, but I also love the score by Brad Fiedel. Everything about Fright Night I love, so if you've never seen this movie, please go watch it. I think a lot of people have seen Fright Night, but if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It definitely stands out from a lot of the horror movies and the vampire subgenre. So check out Fright Night. Absolutely love it. The next one that I would keep, and I would keep this for nostalgia, but I would also keep it because it is one of my favorite movies of all time. And it's a movie that my family and I love so much, and that is Labyrinth. I love this movie for nostalgia reasons. I love this movie still today. Again, a wonderful soundtrack, one of my favorite soundtracks that I listen to quite often. Love the performances. David Bowie, the late and great David Bowie, I miss him so much, as the Goblin King. Jennifer Connelly. Everybody does such a great job in this movie. The practical puppets that are just wonderful, and directed by the late and great Jim Henson. Hopefully I'm saying his name right. I tend to butcher last names, but Jim, a lot of his movies he was able to bring these characters to life. They might not have been actors. They were most of the time like puppets, but he was able to bring them to life, and so many people love a character in a Jim Henson project. And Labyrinth for me, my favorite of Jim's films and just work in general. I just love this movie so much, so it's definitely, one I would keep. And again, just so many memories watching it with my sisters and my older sister when we were, really young, renting that movie quite often from the video store. And I just love Labyrinth so much. The next movie, I have to keep a Disney film. You gotta have one of those movies that if you just need like a feel-good movie and one of your classic Disney movies or one of your favorite Disney movies, you just have to keep one. Or you keep a couple. With my case, I only would keep one, which is really tough, again, because I almost put Toy Story on this list, but for me, I would want to go and watch the rest of the movies. I still have yet to see Toy Story 4, but the at the time, the original, or at the time, the trilogy, Toy Story 1, 2, and 3, I know I would want to go and watch all those movies, so I did not put Toy Story on this list for that reason. But I did put, what could possibly be my favorite, well, my second favorite Disney movie, and that is Aladdin. I love Aladdin, and yeah, for many reasons, I would keep it. Nostalgia. I think it's definitely one of the best Disney movies of all time. I love the music. I love the characters. The late Robin Williams plays the voice of the genie, and this is another reason why I would keep this movie is because I think everybody needs, a little Robin Williams in their lives, and for me, the genie was just perfect. Robin Williams did such a great job, and again, Robin Williams, hopefully I'm saying the name right. I know his name, I just do tongue twisters and can't talk sometimes. Yeah, Robin Williams as the genie, fantastic, and Aladdin just holds up so well today. I still watch it today and fall in love with it each time. The next one is a comedy, and this might be like an oddball for, the list, but I was thinking about like my favorite comedies of all time, and this is my favorite comedy of all time out of every comedy out there, and there are so many I love. I almost want to do like a top 20 favorite comedies of all time because I love a lot of them. But this one I grew up with. This one I think has a huge impact on me because of nostalgia reasons. I watch this movie still today, and I actually think, even though I loved it when I first saw it as a kid, I love it more now, and it's because I just love the writing. I love the direction by the director. And I love this movie. I love the acting. I love the characters. I love the soundtrack of this movie. This was definitely one of my go-to 90s movies when I was a kid, or just one of those movies that I grew up with. And each time I watch it again, I think I love it more and more. And that is Clueless. So I would definitely keep this one. This is one of, again, like a feel-good movie. And if I need some laughs, or if I just need that charm, Clueless is one of those movies that still today holds up well for me. I love the steelbook, but yeah, Clueless, just amazing. Again, writing was so good, still very well written today for a movie that came out 25 years ago, or 25 years ago? Yeah, 25 years ago. I love the writing. I love the direction by Amy Heckerlin. Hopefully I'm saying her last name right. Again, I butcher names and I apologize. But there's just so many things I love this. I love the cast. Alicia Silverstone as Cher. Great performance. Just overall, love the cast. The late Brittany Murphy, who I still miss today. I love a lot of her movies, but Clueless definitely her best one. In my opinion. But yeah, Clueless, that is a film I would have to keep. It is a film that has so much nostalgia for me, but it's just also a movie that each time I watch it, I still love it. I still laugh. I still have those heartwarming moments, and I love Clueless. The next movie, I have to keep a Christopher Nolan movie, and if there was a Christopher Nolan movie I had to keep, this is it. This is my favorite Christopher Nolan movie of all time. And that is Interstellar. I know that's like an unpopular opinion when people talk about their favorite Christopher Nolan movie. I know this movie normally is either ranked in the middle or on people's like lowest list of Christopher Nolan films. But for me, it's my favorite one of all time. I love this movie so much. There's not a Christopher Nolan movie I dislike though. Like, I even, love Tenet, and I cannot wait to rewatch that. I only saw it once in theaters, but I loved it. The only one I haven't seen is his very first movie, which I need to watch that. I believe The Following. But Interstellar, this is a movie I saw so many times in theaters. I believe 5 times in theaters, and I've watched it at least, since its release in 2014, maybe 10 times. I love Interstellar. I probably have seen it more than 10 times. But I love Interstellar. I catch things each time I watch it. It's one of those movies where every time you watch it, You catch things that you did not see before. I love the cast. I love the direction. I love the visuals in the movie. I know some people have problems with like the third act of the film or the climax. I don't. I love everything about this movie. There's not one problem for me in this movie. I just love Interstellar. And if you've never seen it, of course, go watch it. But I'm pretty sure everybody has seen this. Again, I feel like this is probably not, if not his most underrated movie, one of his most underrated films. One of the most underrated Christopher Nolan movies. And for me, I love Interstellar. I love so many of his movies, though. I mean, Inception is fantastic. Dark Knight, like I mentioned, I love Dark Knight, and I almost put the movie on the list. But then I know I would want to go watch Batman Begins first, Dark Knight, and Dark Knight Rises. Insomnia, which I just saw for the first time and loved it. There's so many fantastic Christopher Nolan movies out there. Even Dunkirk, which is one of my least favorite ones, but I do love that film. But yeah, Interstellar, I would definitely keep that one. Alright, so the next two movies, I have the first movie, and I actually put a sequel on this list. I think when you're going to watch one movie, you have to watch its follow-up. I think they're both beautifully directed, done well. I love the writing, I love the music, I love the characters. And I think both movies stand out on their own, but I think they're really great movies that work together. It's a perfect double feature pretty much. And so the first movie is Terminator. Again, for me, gotta keep Terminator. I love Terminator for, a lot of reasons. I love the direction. This was one of the first, not the first, but one of the first James Cameron movies. I think he did such a great job. For a film that came out in 1984, it holds up so well. The direction's great. I love the music. Again, the music is scored by Brad Fiedel, who did the original Fright Night. I love the soundtrack, love the music. I just love everything about the soundtrack, even just like the legit songs in the movie. When you see like a lot of the club music in the film, or when they're at the club, that music is great. My favorite thing that really sticks out for me with this movie, though, besides Arnold as one of the creepiest villains in a movie, is the love story in the film. And I don't think that's something a lot of people talk about when they talk about Terminator, but the love story between Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor is written really well, directed well. There's the whole moment where they're in the motel together, and Kyle Reese is talking about why he came back and why he wanted to protect Sarah Connor is because he loved her, and he had never met her before. He was from the future, but he wanted to meet Sarah, and he wanted to protect her. And he came across time for Sarah Connor. I just love the love story in this. It's one of my favorite love stories in film. I love the characters. Kyle Reese, such a great character. Sarah Connor, who, would be in the next film I'm going to talk about. But she's great in this movie. I think she's great in the second movie, but I love her in this film too. So Terminator for me has a lot of reasons why I would keep this movie. I just love it so much, and I'm actually going to go back and rewatch, at least Terminator 1 and 2 after December and give them another go, because they're films that I just never get tired of watching, and I absolutely love them. So there's Terminator. So I'm keeping a sequel, and I'm keeping Terminator 2. Again, I think both films are a perfect double feature if you want to watch them as a double feature, but if you want to call them standalone movies, you can do that too. I think they're great standalone films as well. They have different, atmospheres and different looks and vibes. This one takes place obviously in the early 90s, so it has that 90s feel to it. But again, I think it's directed great. I think the direction by James Cameron's awesome. I love the direction in this movie. I love the direction of the Terminator, Arnold's character, where in the first movie he was a villain, and in this movie he is the hero of the film. I love, kind of that direction that, I think the T-1000, hopefully I'm saying it right, the T-1000 has in the film. So again, not a villain anymore. He became like the hero of the franchise. Arnold is definitely the staple of the franchise, and yeah, did such a great job in this. You got the villain. I gotta look at his name. Robert Patrick as the villain in the movie. He's definitely probably next to Arnold in the first movie. One of the creepiest villains in the franchise, or one of the best villains. I love Robert Patrick in this movie. And again, Linda Hamilton, Sarah Connor, I mean, just wonderful. And, she went from the first movie at the beginning of that film being this normal young woman who was being chased by a Terminator and kind of vulnerable. And in this movie, she is like a totally different character. And I love the direction of that. I love the direction of that character, Sarah Connor. So, Linda Hamilton, fantastic. Visual-wise, the movie just has still some of the best effects in a movie, both practical and special effects. I love the visuals, and for a film that's almost 30 years old, the visuals are still amazing. So there's so many things why I love not only the first Terminator, but Terminator 2 as well. And again, it's one of those movies where you can have a perfect double feature, but if you just want to watch like one movie out of the franchise and say like you're in the mood to watch Terminator 2, you can watch this movie as a standalone movie. It works so well because again, you have the, the change and shift from Arnold in the first one being the villain to now he's the hero, and you have wonderful characters in the movie. You have, again, awesome direction. I just absolutely love this. And again, Brad Fiedel came back, did the music. I believe Brad came back for this. I'm pretty sure he came back. Brad came back and did the music for this one as well. So, a lot of things I love about this, guys. I think, a lot of people love this film. There's always that debate, which one do you like more? I'm more of a Terminator fan. I think what really makes this one stand out over the first one is the love story. I just love the love story in that movie. But Terminator 2 is great. You got John Connor, Edward Furlong. I forgot to mention him. Another great character, and he did such a great job in this as well. So, anyway, that is my 10 films I would keep in my collection. Out of any of the movies that I have, I would keep those. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I left off so many just wonderful films. Alien and Aliens, I love those movies. But, out of the sci-fi films, I'm more of a Terminator fan, so I'm going to keep those. But I love those movies, and I love so many others. And again, it's made me rethink like how I'm going to collect from now on. Rather that's, getting nostalgia films that I love that I don't have in my collection yet, are going back and watching films in my collection that I haven't watched in a while, or, knowing that I'm going to go and watch a lot of my go-to movies. So it's making me rethink my collection in the future. I'm still going to collect physical media. Long live physical media. I love physical media. But yeah, I really had such a fun time making this video. This was such a great challenge, Nathan. I really appreciate you making that video, and I loved doing a video response to it. So anyway, guys, I want to know your guys's 10 films that you would keep in your collection. Either do a video response to me or Nathan. I would love to see a video response, or leave comments down below. What are 10 films that you would keep in your collection? If you had to get rid of anything else, what would they be? It's a fun challenge, so I would love to see you guys do it. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, you guys are awesome. You guys rock. In with the positive, out with the negative. Go eat some Skittles. Go subscribe to Nathan's channel. And much love to you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.